Hi, guys. It is Tuesday at 4, so I am going to start Miss Cuddy is Nutty. And I do have to say that my Wi-Fi has been acting very strange today. So if it ends up cutting out midway through, I will try again tomorrow at 4. But hopefully we can get through this. So here we go. Miss Cuddy is Nutty. This is book number 2 in my Weirdest School series. I'm going to start with the picture there. I think that's Mr. Cooper. Chapter 1. How do you like them apples? My name is AJ, and I hate it when my school gets attacked by monsters. Okay, I should explain. Mr. Cooper came flying into the room, and I do mean flying. Mr. Cooper thinks he's a superhero, but he's not a very good one because he knocked over the garbage can and fell on the floor. Stuff spilled all over the place. We all ran over to help him. Mr. Cooper had on a black plastic bag in one hand with the letter A on his cape. It is I, he announced, Appleman. Appleman? Asked Ryan and Michael. Who ever heard of a superhero named Appleman? Asked Alexia, who rides a skateboard like all the time. Today, we're going to learn about apples, said Mr. Cooper. Why? Asked Neil, who we call the nude kid, even though he wears clothes. Because it's part of the Common Core, said Mr. Cooper. Get it? Nobody got it. But Mr. Cooper didn't care. He took some apples out of the bag and passed them around. Now, when I was a kid, we used to say, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Mr. Cooper told us. You threw apples at doctors? I asked, and everybody laughed, even though I didn't say anything funny. Did you know there are 7,000 kinds of apples grown all over the world? Mr. Cooper asked us, but only one is native to North America, the crab apple. I know something about apples, said Andrea Young, this annoying girl with curly brown hair. If you put an apple in water, it won't sink. Apples have a lot of air in them. Well, very good, Andrea, said Mr. Cooper. And then Andrea fist bumped her friend Emily, the big crybaby. Then she smiled the smile that she smiles to let everybody know that she knows something that nobody else knows. She thinks she's so smart. I mean, why can't a trunk full of apples totally fall on her head? Mr. Cooper told us it was time for math. If there are 6 apples on a table and you take 4 of them, how many do you have? Mr. Cooper asked. And then Andrea was waving her hand in the air like she needed to be rescued from a desert island. 2 apples, she said, because 6 minus 4 is 2. Then she made her smiley smile again. No, said Mr. Cooper. If there are 6 apples on the table and you take 4 of them, then you have 4 of them. Of course. You just took 4 of them away. But. And then we all laughed because Andrea said but, which sounds a lot like but, even though it only has one T. Ha! So nana boo boo on Andrea. Mr. Cooper taught us a lot of interesting stuff about apples. Did you know that gravity was discovered when an apple fell on some guy's head? Me neither. That's when the most amazing thing in the history of the world happened. The morning announcements came over the loudspeaker. Well, that's not like the most amazing part, because the morning announcements always come over the loudspeaker every morning. But the amazing part was what happened after that. And I'm not going to tell you what it was. Okay, I'll tell you, but you'll have to read the next chapter. So nana boo boo on you. Chapter 2, A Surprise Guest. Our school secretary, Mrs. Patty, does the announcements every morning. Students and teachers, please report to the all-purpose room for a surprise assembly. And then we had to walk in a single file for like 1,100,000 miles to the all-purpose room. Mr. Cooper made us sit boy, girl, so that we wouldn't sit next to anybody that we liked. And I had to sit between Andrea and Emily. It was totally disgusting. Our principal, Mr. Klutz, climbed up on the stage. Now, Mr. Klutz has no hair at all. None. He used to have hair, but it fell out or something. Everybody was buzzing. Well, not really, because people don't buzz. Bees buzz. It would be totally weird if people buzzed, like bees. But we were all talking. Mr. Klutz held up the peace sign, which, means shut up. Thank you, he said. We have a very special guest at elementary school today. And then we all buzzed some more. And you'll never believe who walked out on the stage at that moment. Well, nobody, because somebody rolled out onto the stage in a wheelchair. It was Mrs. Ella Mentry. Ella Mentry is a really old lady who used to teach at our school like 1,100,000 years ago. She must have been a good teacher, because after she retired, the school was named after her. There's a big sign on the grass out in the front that says Ella Mentry School. One time when Mrs. Mentry came to our school, things got out of hand, and there was a food fight. During the food fight, pickle chips and meatballs and burritos and tater tots, they were flying through the air. It was totally cool. We gave Mrs. Mentry a standing ovation. A standing ovation is when everybody gets up from their seats and claps their hands. Now, when you stand up and clap your hands, it's a lot better than when you just sit there and clap your hands. Nobody knows why. At first, I wasn't going to stand up, but all the teachers stood up. Then a few kids stood up. Then a lot more kids stood up. And then I felt like I would look like a dork if I didn't stand up. So I stood up. While we were clapping, Mr. Klutz dragged out a big white piece of cardboard. It was like the size of a door. Mrs. Mentry has brought a gift for the school today, Mr. Klutz announced. What? She's given us a door? I asked. What do we need a door for? We have plenty of doors. It's not a door, Arlo, Andrea said, rolling her eyes. Now, she calls me by my real name because she knows I don't like it. It's a check. Mrs. Mentry has donated money to our school, you dumbhead. And I wanted to say something mean to Andrea, but all I could think was, so's your face. So I didn't say anything. I just said it in my head. And in my head, I was wondering why Mrs. Mentry's check was so big. Now, my parents have checks. Their checks are about the same size as a dollar bill. Why would anybody need a check the size of a door? I can imagine how big Mrs. Mentry's wallet is. Whoa, that's big. Mr. Klutz handed the microphone to Mrs. Mentry. Thank you for the wonderful welcome, she said. I will always have a special place in my heart for this school. And to show my appreciation, I would like to give you this. Mr. Klutz turned the check around so we could see the other side, and this is what it looked like. $1 million. What? $1 million? I shouted. Whoa, $1 million? Shouted Alexia. Dudes, $1 million, shouted Ryan. And in case you were wondering, we were all shouting $1 million. And everybody started yelling and screaming and shrieking and hooting and hollering and, totally freaking out. You totally should have been there. Chapter 3, 100,000 prize pizzas. 100,000 pizzas. Nobody could believe that Ellen would like a ton of money to give away so much of it. No wonder she needs such big checks. There are a lot of zeros in $1 million. We gave Mrs. Mentry another standing ovation. Then Mr. Klutz made the shut up peace sign again, and we all got quiet. We can't thank you enough, Mrs. Mentry, he said, but now we have a problem. What are we going to do with this money? Dude, that's not a problem. If you ask me, a problem is when you have no money at all. I'll spend it for you, shouted our librarian, Mrs. Rupee, and everybody laughed. Tell you what I'm going to do, Mr. Klutz said. We're going to have a contest to decide what to do with the money. Oh, and everybody owed. So go back to your classroom and think about somebody comes up with the best idea will be first to use whatever of the day. So we all walked like 1,100,000 miles back to our classroom. Mr. Cooper said, when we were seated, what do you think we should buy with $1 million? Pizza. Ryan shouted. We should have a giant pizza party for the whole school. Yeah, everybody yelled. Ryan should totally be in the gifted and talented program for coming up with that idea. I mean, come on. Who doesn't like pizza? Well, do you know how many pizzas you can buy with $1 million? Mr. Cooper asked. Then he went to the board and he wrote the number 1 million. He told us that a pizza costs about $10. Then he divided 1 million by 10. The answer is 100,000 pizzas, shouted Andrea. Whoa, that's a lot of pizzas, said Michael. I can only eat 1 or 2 slices, said Emily. Yeah, me too, said Alexia. I know we can freeze the leftovers, said Neil. That's what we do at home. But may I ask you, where will we put all the leftover pizzas? Asked Mr. Cooper. I know, said Alexia. We can buy like 1,000 refrigerators. Yeah, everybody shouted. And where are we going to put the 1,000 refrigerators? Asked Mr. Cooper. In the playground? Michael said. Yeah, everybody shouted. Well, as long as we're getting all those refrigerators, said Neil, let's buy $1 million worth of ice cream. I love ice cream. It's better than pizza. Yeah, everybody shouted. Why don't we just buy $1 million worth of candy? I suggested. Then we won't need any refrigerators. Yeah, everybody shouted. We were coming up with some really good ideas, and I was sure that our class would win the contest. I hate to tell you this, said Mr. Cooper, but elementary did not give us $1 million to buy junk food. She wants us to buy something useful for the school. We need to think outside the box. But I didn't see any boxes around. If I was in a box, I know what I would be thinking about. How did I get in this box? I know, we could buy a race car with $1 million, suggested Michael. Maybe we could buy a football team, suggested Neil. How about a skate park? Alexia suggested. Why not give $1 million to a school that doesn't have any money? Suggested Emily. Dude, our school doesn't have any money, I told her. Well, we have money now, said Emily. We have $1 million. Dude, but if we gave $1 million to a school that doesn't have any money, I told her, then we would be a school that doesn't have any money again. Maybe we should put the money in the bank, suggested Little Miss Perfect. Then we could watch our money grow. Dude, banks are boring, I said. Well, what if we did something educational with the money? Suggested Mr. Cooper. Ugh, he said the E word. Educational stuff is totally boring, I said. Well, AJ, said Mr. Cooper, what is not boring to you? And I tried to think of something that isn't boring. And it was totally hard because most stuff is totally boring. Then I came up with it. TV, I finally said, because TV isn't boring. That's when I got the greatest idea in the history of the world. I know, I said, we should buy one of those big flat screen TVs for our class. That would be cool. Yeah, everybody shouted. A flat screen TV doesn't cost $1 million, Mr. Cooper told us. For $1 million, we could buy a whole TV station. Well, I said, then we should buy our own TV station. That's it, shouted Mr. Cooper. AJ, you're a genius. Chapter 4, Boats. I didn't even know you could buy your own TV station. But I guess with $1 million, you can buy just about anything. Everybody agreed that my idea was genius and I should get the Nobel Peace Prize. That's a prize that they give out to people who have no bells. Well, almost everybody agreed. Annoying Andrea had on her mean face. She was mad because I came up with a great idea and she didn't. Mr. Cooper wrote down my idea and sent it to the office. And at the end of the day, just before dismissal, Mr. Klutz made an announcement over the loudspeaker. Well, we had a lot of great suggestions for what we should do with $1 million, he said. But I could only pick one, so here's my decision. We're going to start our own elementary school TV station. The winner is Mr. Cooper's class. Everybody started yelling and screaming and shrieking and hooting and hollering and, totally freaking out. Outside school the next morning, we were all excited. Some men wearing overalls were carrying giant cameras and computers. It is Wednesday, she said. Blah, 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 sunny and breezy outside. Blah, 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 blah. Today's lunch will be hot dogs. Blah, 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 blah. We have a birthday. Carrie Frew in first grade. Blah, 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 blah. She went on and on for like 1,100 minutes. What a snooze fest. Nobody was listening. But after we pledged the allegiance, Mrs. Patty said something that caught our attention. Today will be my last day making the morning announcements, she said. Starting tomorrow, the announcements will be made over the new elementary school TV station. What? Yeah, we all shouted. Okay, said Mr. Cooper. Turn to page 23 in your map. He didn't get a chance to finish his sentence because you'll never believe who ran through the door at that moment. Nobody. You can't run through a door. Doors are made of wood. But you'll never believe who ran through the doorway. It was a lady with dark hair and big eyes, and her name was Mrs. Cuddy. To what do we owe the pleasure of your company, Miss Cuddy? Asked Mr. Cooper. Now that's just grown-up talk for, dude, what are you doing here? Mr. Klutz hired me to help the class start your TV station, Miss Cuddy said. I'm a digital media arts teacher. I never heard of a digital media arts, but we were all glad that she was here because none of us knew anything about cameras or lights or microphones, and besides, we would miss math. This TV station is going to be awesome, said Miss Cuddy. Every class in the school will be able to watch the morning announcements, and people all over town will be able to tune in too. So your parents will see you on TV. Cool, we all said. Now, which one of you is AJ? Asked Miss Cuddy. And everybody looked at me. For our first week on the air, you're going to be the anchor, said Miss Cuddy. The anchor? I asked. What do you mean? I get thrown off the boat? No, said Miss Cuddy. That means you get to read the morning announcements on TV. And how come Arlo gets to be the anchor? Whined Andrea. I would make a great anchor. You would not, I said. I would too, said Andrea. Would not. Would too. And we went back and forth like that for a while. The TV station was AJ's idea, said Mr. Cooper. That's why he gets to be the anchor. And then I stuck my tongue out at Andrea. So nana boo boo on her. I'm going to be the best anchor in the history of the world, I announced. Well, let's not go overboard, AJ, said Mr. Cooper. Dudes, why is everybody talking about being thrown out of boats? Miss Cuddy took us to the conference room where those men with overalls were hammering and sawing and building the scenery for the morning announcements. There was a flat screen TV on the wall. The conference room was starting to look like a real TV studio. Miss Cuddy told us that somebody would have to operate the camera, and Michael volunteered. Alexia asked if she could be the director. Andrea said she would write the scripts. The person in charge of the lights is called the gaffer, and Ryan got that job. Neil said he would handle the microphones, props, and other stuff. Emily said that she would take care of makeup. Mrs. Cuddy showed us how to work all the equipment. Tomorrow morning, she said, we're going to make history. Chapter 5, Making History. We got to school early the next day so we would be ready to do the morning announcements. The conference room looked just like a real TV studio. Miss Cuddy gave me a fancy jacket and a tie to wear so that I would look like an anchor man. Michael, Ryan, and Neil ran around making sure that the equipment was working. Andrea handed me a script she had written. 2 minutes at a time, shouted Alexia, our director. Miss Cuddy gathered us all around. Okay, this is it, guys, she said. Our first broadcast. Are you ready to make history? Yeah, we all replied. I can't hear you, said Miss Cuddy. Yeah, we all replied. And I sat behind the desk and adjusted my mic. Emily ran over and stuck some furry brush in my face. Hey, knock it off, I told her. But I need to powder your nose, she said. It's shiny. I don't care, I said. Leave my nose alone and get it out of here. Then Emily started crying and ran out of the conference room. What a crybaby. 1 minute, said Alexia. Dudes, there was electricity in the air. Well, I mean, not really, because if there was electricity in the air, we would get electrocuted. But as I stared at the camera, I felt myself starting to sweat. Every kid in the school would be watching me. My parents would be watching from home. A bunch of strangers would be watching me too. Why had I agreed to this? I wished we had spent $1 million on pizza and ice cream and candy. I wanted to run away, to Antarctica to go live with the penguins. Are you nervous, AJ? Asked Mrs. Cuddy. Yeah, I said. I think I'm going to throw up. Good, she replied. That means you're excited. Remember, speak slowly and clearly. In 3, 2, 1, said Alexia. And then a little red light lit up on the top of the camera. And I took a deep breath. Action, said Alexia. Good morning. My name is AJ, and here are the morning announcements for elementary school. I said, today is Thursday. The weather outside is cloudy and cold. Today's lunch will be chicken nuggets. We have one birthday, Rocco Garcia, in the 4th grade. He turns 10 years old today. And now please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Outside the conference room, I could hear lots of kids reciting the pledge. Thank you, I said when they were done. This is AJ signing off. Have a great Thursday. And cut, said Alexia. And then the red light on the top of the camera went off, and everybody started clapping. Nice job, AJ, said Miss Cuddy. You nailed it, dude, said Michael. That's when the most amazing thing in the history of the world happened. Miss Cuddy went to turn off the TV, but she must have pushed the wrong button because she changed the channel instead, and some girl was on the screen. She was sitting at a desk in front of a microphone, and she was wearing a funny hat, a fake nose, and glasses. This is Morgan Brocklebank, she said, and this has been the morning announcements from Dirk's school. What? Dirk's school? That's the school on the other side of town. We call it Dork School. One last thing before I sign off, Morgan Brocklebank said. We want to give a very special thank you to Mrs. Elementary, who donated the money to us to start our very own TV station. What? Mrs. Elementary gave them $1 million too? Shouted Andrea. Dude, that's not fair, shouted Neil. I thought she gave the money to our school, shouted Alexia. Everybody was totally upset, but one person was more upset than anybody else. Mrs. Cuddy. Chapter 6, More Eyeballs. Mrs. Cuddy was staring at the TV with her mouth open. She didn't say anything, but I could tell she was really angry. She made both of her hands into fists, and it looked like her eyes were on fire. Why, those dirty, rotten, she was mumbling to herself. Then she started shouting, how dare they start their own TV station at Dirk's school? And the same day we started our TV station. This is horrible. I won't stand for it. Dudes, she was totally freaking out. I thought she was going to throw something. I had never seen a grown-up get so mad. That's when Mr. Klutz's voice came over the loudspeaker. Great job with the morning announcement, kids, he said. I was watching in my office. Terrific, AJ. And I just heard that 54 people in town were watching at home. Hey, how many people were watching the Dirk School morning announcements? I asked. 60, said Mr. Klutz. No! Shouted Miss Cuddy as she fell to her knees. She looked like she had just seen the earth destroyed by a meteor. I can't believe those dirt jerks beat us, she moaned. Does it really matter how many people tune in to watch us? Asked Andrea. I mean, it's just the morning announcements. That's when Miss Cuddy jumped to her feet. Of course it matters, she shouted. We are winners at elementary school, and don't you forget it. Nobody beats us. We're number one. I didn't go to film school for 4 appears to come in second. And then she started pacing back and forth. We need more eyeballs. We need more eyeballs, she muttered. How are we going to get more eyeballs? That's totally weird. Why would we want more eyeballs? I mean, do you think we need more people to watch the morning announcements? Asked Anne. Yes, Miss Cuddy replied. We need to do something tomorrow morning that will blow Dirk School out of the water. Why is everybody always talking about boats? We could get a funny hat and have AJ put a fake nose and glasses on, suggested Michael. No, Dirk already did that, Miss Cuddy said, still pacing back and forth. We have to come up with something new and different. AJ, do you have any special talents that nobody else can do? Yeah. I can make armpit farts, I told her. That's a special talent? AJ is good at telling jokes, said Ryan. He told jokes at school at the talent show. Well, that might work, said Miss Cuddy. AJ, tomorrow morning I want you to come in here with your best jokes. Does that mean I don't have to write the script anymore? Asked Andrea. You help with the lights tomorrow, Mrs. Cuddy told Andrea. And then Andrea looked all mad, and I stuck my tongue out at her to make her even mad. I would be in front of the camera while she had to be lugging around the lights. This was like, but seriously. Stop in there, and I will finish up tomorrow at 4. So Wednesday at 4, and we will find out. First, we'll find out if AJ has funny jokes, because Dirk School. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed the first part of Miss Cuddy is Nutty. Hope to see you again tomorrow. Bye.